Okay. Oh, okay. Alright, so scoot into frame here. Hopefully that's alright. I also did want to cover hopefully you're coming from the previous videos, so you understand the context of me sitting out here in the middle of nature. What a perfect day for it, actually. Not too crazy hot or anything like that. Anyway, I did want to cover what I got up to last week. And I'm doing this just off the cuff because the context of that previous video was that my power went out randomly, so I'm out here filming this because I didn't think I was going to get the chance to, but the chance was created for me against my will, so here we are. What I got up to last week. Last week was the first week of this experiment, the hypothesis for which is in my previous video, so please go and watch that if you need more context. But I think anyone can start their own business, and I think especially young Australian professionals can do so in a, let's say, 2 to 7 year span, depending on how much experience they have, or even more quickly than that. And that previous video that I have sort of sets out the argument for why I think that. So my first week last week involved a lot of outreach. So as much warm outreach as I could do, and then some cold outreach as well, predominantly through LinkedIn. And I think that's going to be pretty normal, pretty natural for a lot of people, depending on their particular business or industry or whatever. But ideally, you would have warm networks that you can work with. I didn't really have too much of that, and it's something that I'm sort of kicking myself for now for not having. But it is what it is. So cold outreach. I was following up on connections that I made at a previous networking event, and I met up with somebody from that network event in logistics and made a really good connection there that will hopefully be a mutually beneficial relationship going forward, which is awesome. He was just a great guy as well, so you love to have that. Finishing off my website, doing the whole business launch thing, which I think you should really have ready when you are making the switch on LinkedIn. So I launched that on Monday and then Tuesday of, hey, I'm quitting my current business. I'm really appreciative of everyone that I worked with and that sort of post. And then on the Tuesday, hey, this is my new business. Would love your support, love to work with you in future, sort of thing. So that whole public facing thing. Then on the Wednesday, I worked on the deliverable, or not really deliverable, worked on the upfront thing that I wanted to give to this person that I was meeting with. And that was a sector briefing, and I think that he found that really valuable. What it was something up front without asking anything of anyone, and it was demonstrating my technical expertise, demonstrating my professional expertise as well, and demonstrating my capability to support his business and other businesses. So, I mentioned this in my other video, but it's difficult to talk about things in business to do with relationships because it can come off like the only reason you're doing something is for a business result, which isn't the case. But when you do that, it helps build that rapport and helps people to see your potential and see your capability and your expertise. And it also just builds goodwill and helps form that, reciprocal relationship. So I did that. And then I also had I feel like I'm overusing the word hypothesis, but I had another hypothesis that people hiring for roles might be interested in, God has come to take me, might be interested in working with me as a contractor or rather that I could target people who were interested in my contracting services by looking for those people who were hiring for the same thing. So I tested that out last week, and the results are inconclusive on that for now, but I'll keep testing that and revert back if I get any traction there. I think that it's also really important, something that I did last week, to really wrap up with everybody at your old company. I mentioned this in the other video talking about mentors and supporters, but if you can have all of those people thinking about you and on your side, then that gives you a lot of traction when you're starting out and gives you a runway to go off there. So this week, continuing with outreach, continuing with developing upfront technical offerings that give people something without asking for anything and demonstrate my expertise. This is the role of a portfolio if you're in a creative, enterprise or whatever. Doing that and continuing to work on those professional relationships, seeing people for coffee, following up on LinkedIn chats that have gone cold, following up on expressions of interest and reaching out on LinkedIn, email, websites that have gone cold, and also going to a networking event on Friday for local businesses. And I've sort of locked in a series of networking events pretty much every week for the next few months, so that I'm getting out into industry, talking to people, that sort of thing. Something else that I want to try to focus on is always having something go up every week on LinkedIn, which is relevant for my industry, may not be relevant for yours, but I think it's important to always have an active presence no matter which marketplace you're in, whether that's LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, so that people can see you're still active. When I'm looking up even people to talk to on LinkedIn and I see their last activity was 3 months ago, I'm sort of like, I probably won't bother reaching out to this person. I'll go to somebody in their organization who's more active. I feel like it's probably the case that the other way, when somebody looks at your post and they can see that you're posting every week and you're giving so much free value, or you're talking about these, really interesting conversations, that draws them in and makes them want to talk to you more. So, again, hypothesis, but we will see. I think I'll leave it there, keep it fairly quick, but this week's recap should be a bit longer when I actually have notes to refer to, so we'll see how that goes. Anyway, thank you for watching, and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on this journey and how successful it is. My ardent hope is that the success of this can galvanize a bunch of young Australian professionals to take that shot and work hard to gain their financial and their personal freedom back, because we live in a world that can seem so bleak a lot of the time that I think if you have the guts and the intelligence to reach for that, I think you deserve to succeed there. So yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. Ow. Ow, my ass. This rock is so uncomfortable.